Thanks. Good afternoon. First off, I want to begin by thanking our Lieutenant Governor, Rebecca Clayfish. Becky, last year had this idea after we did, she and I both were doing small business listening sessions around the state. She said, let's have a conference where we bring small business leaders together from around the state. This is our second annual year of doing this, but really the heart and soul behind this is Rebecca Clayfish. So if you please give her a warm round of applause, we really appreciate it. I know folks from all around the state, but I particularly want to thank the mayor for being here. Matt, it's always a good time. I know you gave greetings earlier today, and we appreciate it. Usually when I'm here with the mayor, we're announcing, and I know Senator Schilling was here before as well, but we're announcing economic development items, usually a new opening or something else like this. So this is one of the rare times when we're not, although I got to tell you, for those of you from the Cooley region, you know it's time to get ready for the cold because the rotary lights behind us are going up right along the riverfront, and so it's a good sign of the season. But I just appreciate you all being here today. And you know, I was thinking earlier, I see Don Weber here. Actually, it's a good reminder, Don. I was going to mention this anyway, but you reminded this for all the work you did with Veterans Stadium over at the campus there. But I'd like to begin before we talk about small businesses. You know, Sunday is Veterans Day, but every day should be Veterans Day. And anybody who's here who's got a veteran in the family or is a veteran yourself, would you just stand for a moment? We should begin by recognizing and thanking all of you for your presence and your service to our country. Good to see a representative as well. And I also should just mention I've been traveling the state. I started out in Wauwatosa this morning. I went up to Hayward. Every quarter meet with all 11 sovereign nations, tribal governments, and so they knew I was coming here next. Actually, some of the council members are here as well before I head off to Madison and Milwaukee on stops today as part of preparing for the budget and making other stops like this. But they asked when I was meeting that I remind you, and so I'm going to do that right now at the start here, that there are many tribal business interests that are interested in working with small businesses and startups around the state. So just a plug, they mentioned that sometimes they feel like they've been overlooked, and so that's a good reminder. There are many different great options out there, but since I was just up in Hayward meeting with tribal leaders from all across the state of Wisconsin, I said I will carry that message right to our small business leaders from across the state. And before I give some additional comments, how about, and I know you got a chance in two different panels earlier as well as some breakout sessions you're going to talk to later. Did you like hearing from our cabinet? Isn't they a great group of people? I'm really proud. In fact, last year after we were in Green Bay, the Green Bay Press-Gazette a few days later wrote a column, not about me or about Rebecca, but about the quality of the cabinet and how impressed they were both with the caliber of the individuals in the cabinet and the enthusiasm. I'm sure you saw that. Obviously, I was not here, but I'm sure you saw both the enthusiasm. You probably saw a little bit of the personalities. I see Kathy Stepp here, and I know Kathy and Stephanie Klett and a few others have an overdose of personality. You probably saw that on the panels as well. That's a good thing. And they mix with a few of the more subdued members of the cabinet, but who may not have the same personality overflow, but who have just as much passion for the state and for their jobs and their responsibilities. But I got to tell you, one thing I'm just so proud of, and it's such a great opportunity for us to share with you, the small business leaders of the state, through panels like the two you saw this morning, that we do have, and I'm very proud of the quality of folks who work with me in state government, and I'm very excited about the fact that not only they're a talented crew, that they're passionate about working with small businesses. They know I've said time and time again about how important it is to help businesses, but particularly small businesses, grow in the state, and I know they value this panel sessions and a summit like today just as much as you valued hearing from them, and will continue to. So to all the cabinet members I see all over, thank you for joining with us, and the rest of the team and staff that's here. For us, this is one of our exciting days, most exciting days each year, because we really get to feel that back and forth enthusiasm. And it's a good thing out there. I'm glad to see such a great crowd here today. You could be anywhere in the state, you could be anywhere in the country, heck, some of you could be anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to be with us here at this summit. And we really just want to begin by telling you thank you. Thank you for your commitment to this state. Thank you for taking a big, bold idea and turning it into something that not only helps you in your business venture, but it's helping put people to work here. I stand in line talking to different folks. I was talking to one guy, Bobby was telling me over here, I see him, that's telling me that, what, a year or two ago, you guys were even wondering if you're even going to be in business. Next year you added, what, approximately 40 new jobs. That's pretty exciting. I hear from other businesses like this as well, but you're taking that risk, and we understand that the best things we can do to help you do that is not to take that risk for you, but to really do two things. You know, I'm going to break this down a little bit, but it boils down to two simple things. In part, we can get out of the way in terms of the cost of doing business, and in the other part, we can be a better partner with you. And I want to talk about each of those for a few minutes here. You see, we have been aggressive since last January and tried to change the business climate. In fact, the mayor knows this. There's a sign just over here that greets people when they come across the Mississippi from Minnesota that says Wisconsin welcomes you. And at the bottom of the sign for years, no matter who the governor was, Democrat or Republican, there was a little shingle that said the name of the governor. Well, last year, we replaced that shingle, not with my name, but we put a simple phrase up. It said, open for business. And the reality was we wanted to send a symbolic message, but then follow it up with a substantive message that when we said we're open for business, that means something. Not just to businesses coming here who might want to grow here or come here for the first time. And we'll take them. But more importantly, for our own employers who reside and live and work and hire people in this state, to know every time you come back home that you know you've got a government at the state level to match those at the local level who are committed to helping you grow and sustain the growth that you have here in the state of Wisconsin. And so early on last year, it's why we called the legislature in a special session. It's one of the things that often gets overlooked, but a lot of the economic development stuff we did early on last year, while there was a lot of other tension, a lot of other issues, most of the things we did in economic development were done largely on a bipartisan basis. And my hope is in the future, as I chart out some of the things we'd like to do in the coming year or two, they can be done with Republicans and Democrats coming together, because when it comes to jobs, there aren't Republican jobs, there aren't Democrat jobs, there's just Wisconsin jobs. And so we put a renewed focus on that. We knew in one part, we heard particularly from small businesses, that more than anything, the government was a barrier. It was adding additional undue cost to being able to do business in this state. So last year we lowered the overall tax burden. In fact, one of the best things we did for small businesses was, for the first time in 12 years, property taxes actually went down. We thought that was pretty productive, particularly for those who have a shop or a business or a property or location. Those are all things that are big costs, particularly when you're a small business or a startup company. We made sure that we streamlined the regulatory process, so we stopped adding new and onerous regulations. We've got more to do. In fact, one of the things we're looking forward to working with many of our partners in small business is not only stopping adding the addition of new out-of-control regulations, but really now going back. In fact, for years, Wisconsin used to have a small business regulatory review board, but ironic as it was, the majority of members were appointees from the government, and only a handful of people were actually small business owners. So last year, I was proud to sign a bill into law that got rid of all the government appointments. They still monitor and keep track and assist, but it's all made up of small business owners. And the charge isn't just to stop adding new ones that might be onerous to small businesses, but to go back over this next year and look at all of them, all the rules and regulations that are on the books. The idea being is it's not just enough to say we're not going to add any more onto the pile of the paperwork you have to comply with regulations at the state, local, and even federal level. What we're going to do more to say what ones are out there that really just don't make sense. You see, I think you and I and all of us here, we agree that we want to protect public health and public safety. We want clean air, clean land, clean water. But all too often, the regulations in government don't pass the common sense test. All we want is to enforce common sense and stop the out-of-control regulatory red tape. We can do the two. We can balance those things and make it easier. And so we stopped adding more last year, and we changed the environment so that we can go through, with the help of small businesses like you, help us go through and find those that are on the books that maybe are outdated or antiquated, maybe just were meant well at the time, but technology and other things have advanced since then. We're going to do more to advance that in the future. So we lowered the tax burden, tried to streamline the regulatory process, did more to take away frivolous and out-of-control lawsuits, even did things as simple last year as get rid of there was a state tax, if you can believe it or not. We were one of a handful of states that had a state tax on health savings accounts. Now, that's not the only answer low-cost health options, but at least it was one of them, particularly for small business owners, for family farmers and others out there. Yet we wanted the states to tax it. We got rid of that. There is no state tax on that. And we went further. In fact, not only did we help with property taxes, if you've got a company you want people to invest in, one of the things a lot of people don't know, Secretary Chandler, I see was here, might have mentioned this earlier on the panel, a lot of people don't know that we got rid of capital gains for investments made in Wisconsin-based companies. And that's a pretty good deal, not just for you as an individual small business owner, but if you're trying to attract new investment to take your company maybe from 5 to 10 to 15 or 20 or 50 employees at some point in the future, there's a pretty compelling argument to invest in your company. That's money that goes right into helping you add more jobs. If you're into manufacturing or agricultural-based interest, we have a credit that will go up to 7.5% by 2015. That's a pretty compelling argument. I was over just talking to one of the guys from S&S Cycle here and plenty of other places where I know for a lot of our businesses, to put people to work takes an investment in capital. And so to the extent that we can help you with an incentive to do that, that's tremendously important. So we did those sorts of things. We're continuing to do those things. We want to do more about it in the future to get government out of the way. In fact, looking ahead, I'd love to reduce the income tax burden in this state. A lot of times there's talk about corporate taxes, and certainly I appreciate the corporations that are in this state, but as most, if not all of you in this room probably know, most businesses in Wisconsin don't pay corporate taxes. We pay individual taxes. And so lowering the individual income tax burden in this state would be a tremendous value, not just to individuals, your consumers, but in particular to small businesses. Because whether you're an LLC or an S-Corp or others like that, you're paying taxes at the individual level. And in the past, when taxes have gone up, that's not just more money out of your pocket. More times than not, that's money that goes out of your business that you'd otherwise would put into investments in capital that would put more people to work. We want to put more people to work. Who better than all of you and others that you represent from across the state? So one of our goals coming ahead in this next budget, the good news is, the reforms have worked in the past, and we went from having a $3.6 billion budget deficit 2 years ago to today, we actually have a surplus. In fact, for the first time ever in 2 consecutive years, we've set money aside in the rainy day fund. This last time, a few weeks ago, we put the biggest amount ever in the rainy day fund. That's good, not just in terms of starting out with a better basis. It's good because even though taxes have gone down, revenues have gone up. How about that for a phenomenon? Any of you in retail understand? Anybody who's in retail knows what I'm talking about, right? I mean, if you're on Main Street, whether it's here downtown in LaCrosse or it's anywhere across the state, if you're a retailer, why do you have a sale? Because you want people to come on in, right? And in the end, the way you make money, a profit off of that is value. If more people come in buying at a slightly reduced level because you put a sale on the product versus what you'd get if you were charging at full rate but nobody or few people were coming in, you drive the volume by having a bit of a reduction. Ultimately, you make more profit because you have more volume. Simple concept. Yet oftentimes that's foreign in government. In our case, we want to make it easier for you to take that money, to reinvest it in capital, to reinvest in equipment, to reinvest in things that put people to work, and in turn, not only as your company grows, but the people you hire now who maybe in the past were on unemployment are instead collecting a paycheck from your business or from others. That's more people paying, and that fits into our whole cycle of trying to grow the economy by recycling those dollars not through the government but through the private sector, particularly through our small businesses. So we're committed to doing that and growing that in the future. Those are the areas where we can get the government out of the way. To do more, as you heard from this panel, to be customer focused. I dare say this, but I'm going to pick on Kathy's step again. You probably had a great, Kathy, she has so much personality. She had a session of her own beyond just the panel. But it's because in the past, and believe me, we're not pretending the DNR is perfect because it's not there. We got a long ways to go. But it's been a joy over the last year and a half to run into small business owners who've told me, hey, you know what? It's actually kind of nice working with the DNR now. And our goal, whether it's the DNR or the Department of Transportation or DATCAP or anywhere else, is to make it customer friendly, to be a partner. So in part it's getting the cost out, taxes, regulation, litigation, things like that. But then the other part, it's to be a good partner, to treat you like customers. Not like an annoyance or not like a bother, but to try and treat more and more people like customers. How can we best serve the customers we serve in the state of Wisconsin. And one of our chief constituents, it's not just